If this year ends with Muzan beat down by Yorichi, I would declare this year best year ever. Prior to this chapter, there's plenty of developments to look forward to. Tanjiro is on the verge of death, Nezuko is on the run to save him, and 5 pillars are up against Muzan, all of which we'll have to put on hold for it is time for a backstory. Although it does revolve with Tanjiro's life in peril, the real focus is on the other world that sets him back in time to understand the dark past that led to the current world. It's confirmed that Tanjiro was sent back in time as well as not being himself. Instead, he was in the body of his ancestor, Sumiyoshi, the same guy who we saw visions in the past chapter. It makes sense on why he couldn't smell. Different body means different perk. He couldn't understand what was going on until his daughter appears before him. It would have been a funny twist if this is his future self. Parent fans will go ballistic. Joking aside, the real treat of being in his ancestor memory is to meet the man himself, Yorichi. Before embarking a backstory, we get a glimpse on the current timeline with Murata trying to save him. I'm not sure if he was losing his mind, but it would seem Tanjiro's body is in frozen state due to journeying through his ancestor's memory. A slayer appears to request Murata to help him to get Yushiro out of the rubble. I believe that's the same guy who offered his life to get eaten earlier. He does make a point on the possibility to save Tanjiro. I still believe Nezuko will be the one, but we'll see. Tanjiro as Sumiyoshi is going by the memory, meaning whatever it was said and done, it will repeat. I like that detail. Usually the protagonists can roam around and work differently as they are journeying through a memory bank simulation. It's why Tanjiro can only respond the same way to Yorichi. Unfortunately, that does mean he cannot ask Yorichi about the 13th form. This would have been perhaps pointless in terms of search for power, or perhaps not. The rest of the chapter focuses on Yorichi's backstory, and is pretty depressing. Before going through the backstory, I want to get this out of my chest. I find it interesting that Tanjiro isn't in Yorichi's body. I'm used to the protagonist being placed as the legend or closely related. Instead of having to experience it himself, he's placed as a spectator to hear the story. It must be Croc Sensei's way for the protagonist to gain the knowledge of a legend without being the legend. I don't know. I find that interesting. On to the backstory. The beginning is more or less of a recap of what was addressed before in Kokushibo's backstory. The difference is, this is Yorichi's point of view. I do like the origin of the earrings that represents the sun deity to shine warmly upon the ears, fitting for Tanjiro to inherit it now. It goes without saying, but he truly loved his brother for everything, especially for the flute. I want to know his reaction towards his brother's demonization. It will be heartbreaking for sure. He ran off, avoiding to become a priest, and this is where the story diverged from what we have known already. He ran so far, yet not once felt exhaustion. That's pretty telling on his unmeasurable stamina. The boy was truly godlike. He saw a young girl in the field. Her family died in a plague, and she was alone, so catching tadpoles was her way to be part of a family. That's all I need to feel bad for her. She caught some, but let them go because she felt bad from breaking them apart. That speaks greatly on Yorichi's behalf. One ran away and the other was taken away. He insisted to live together. She was overjoyed with tears. As you may guessed it, they would eventually become lovers. I'm amazed on the romantic input this series has. It's not to say it will become heavy on romance, but it doesn't shy away from inserting one. I can see it as a hopeful thing for pairing fans, so anything is possible. With that said, the most important part about their relationship is how it shaped Yorichi's life. he realized why he felt estranged from others. He was either seen as a messiah or a monster. Yet, Uta, the girl in the story, always held on to his hand that reads, "Nothing will break us apart." It is a one page of a love story that left me awed. With great love comes with great tragedy. 10 years later, they got married and she was carrying their baby. Yorichi left her in home to prepare for the birth. Upon traveling, he stumbled upon an old man who was weak but wanted to meet his son who was fatally wounded. So Yorichi helped the old man, and now he's on his way to return home. Sadly, she was killed along with the baby. You may have noticed, but it's awfully similar to what happened to Tanjiro. I suppose history repeats itself in a cruel manner. It must be hard to hear the similar fate. I can't help but feel upset for Yorichi. All he wanted was a normal life, and it was taken away from him. He was so torn up. He was cradling their bodies for 10 days. What a disturbing, depressing to look upon. It's no wonder his smile died until that time with Kokushibo. His life would turn around, if you can call it that, when someone came by. I was happy to learn that Rengoku's ancestor was the one that recruited Yorichi to Demon Slayer Corps. You don't have to hear it out loud. You see the appearance, and you'll know right away. Once Yorichi gave his family a proper burial, he became a demon slayer. This explains his reasoning to grab his sword once more to fight. There's no better reason than losing a family. You can mix in with Kokushibo's backstory, and you can see how the pieces fit perfectly together. Thanks to Yorichi's ambition to slay demons, he taught the corpse on the breathing. The pillars were already strong, so they learned the breathing pretty well. Bonus, they improved even further. I can see why the system remained intact with the inclusion of the breathing performance. All was looking promising until he confronted with Muzan himself. Tamayo was with him at the time. This actually pains me. It was that moment Yorichi believed he was born to kill Muzan. Like Superman, he was sent there for a purpose. It must be his vengeance lost speaking, but I got chills from that last panel. This has me really hyped up. It's not just the fact we will likely see the 13th form, but Yorichi tearing him apart like a pitiful fool will be so satisfying. I paid good money to see that. This was a pretty interesting chapter. I thoroughly enjoy Yorichi's backstory. I enjoy the content prior to it. I don't mind holding off the action with the pillars and Muzan if we are going to receive the action with Yorichi. The next chapter looks very promising. Muzan is about to get annihilated. It begs the question, how did he escape from death? I pray Tamayo wasn't the cause, even if she was against her will at the time. For now, I'm going to enjoy the beatdown. With Muzan's existence, no matter what timeline, blood loss will always exist. And that will do it for the review. I hope you enjoyed this one. What do you think of this chapter? Share your thoughts in the comment section. If you like this and want more of this, subscribe to my channel and my world will be yours to stay. Until next time, take care.